A Chinese model just came within half a point of OpenAI's best coding score, and Moonshot says its 2.8 trillion parameter weights could be public in 9 days. Welcome back to Midnight Signal AI. It's July 18th, 2026.
Today, the Kimi K3 numbers that put a new contender in the frontier tier, BMW turning ChatGPT into a car configurator, and the very practical metric OpenAI says companies should use before calling an AI deployment successful.
Moonshot AI's Kimi K3 is the lead story. Artificial analysis puts the model fourth on its Intelligence Index V4.1 with a score of 57, alongside the GPT-5-6 family, Claude Fable 5, and Gemini. The headline architecture is a 2.8 trillion parameter mixture of experts. 16 of 896 experts activate for each token, with native vision and a 1 million token context window.
The independent coding result is the attention grabber. On Terminal Bench 2.1, artificial analysis measured 88.3 for K3. That's just behind GPT 5.6 Sol at 88.8, but ahead of Claude Fable 5 and Opus 4.8, both at 84.6. One benchmark does not settle the frontier race, but it does make this much more than a parameter count announcement.
And Moonshot's promise is unusually consequential: full open weights by July 27. If that happens, K3 would be the strongest open weights release yet by a wide margin. There is a major practical constraint, though. Moonshot says deployment needs a supernode with at least 64 accelerators, so open would not mean a laptop model or even an easy single-server deployment.
It could still change the market for well-funded enterprises and national AI programs. They would get a model they can inspect, fine-tune, and keep inside their own infrastructure, rather than sending every coding task to a US API. That is a different kind of competitive pressure than simply offering another chatbot subscription.
Moonshot is pitching K3 especially hard for agentic coding. Its own reported results include 67.5 on Deep SWE, 77.8 on Program Bench, 81.2 on Frontier SWE, and 42.0 on the multi-hour SWE Marathon. Those are useful signals, but several do not appear on benchmark owners' live leaderboards, and Kimi Code Bench 2.0 is Moonshot's internal benchmark.
So the skeptical read is straightforward. Terminal Bench is independently measured. Much of the rest remains vendor evidence. K3's 81.2 Frontier SWE figure is also below Fable 5's reported 86.6. The impressive claim isn't that K3 has clearly won every coding test. It is that Moonshot has reached close enough to force serious independent verification.
There are cost and behavior caveats, too. Artificial analysis recorded 62 output tokens per second, below its roughly 70 to 72 token median, and K3 consumed 130 million output tokens in evaluation, more than double the comparison median. Moonshot's pricing is $3 per million input tokens and $15 output, with 30-cent cash hits, but verbosity can turn a mid-tier rate into a larger bill.
The evaluation guide flags another operational wrinkle. Kimi preserves its thinking history across turns. A harness has to feed that history back correctly, and switching models mid-session can destabilize quality. It may also be excessively proactive on ambiguous requests. For agent builders, that means the model's behavior is partly a systems integration problem, not just a benchmark score.
The date to circle is July 27. A delivered open-weight release would compress the usual gap between closed frontier launches and public weights to days or weeks. It would also land while US labs debate pre-release gates for powerful models, an increasingly awkward policy contrast if comparable Chinese weights are freely downloadable.
Until the weights arrive and outsiders reproduce the claims, K3 is a powerful promise, rather than a completed open model milestone. But 88.3 on an independent agentic coding test gives that promise real substance.
Next, BMW Group says it has launched a vehicle configurator as a dialogue-based plugin in OpenAI's. Rather than clicking through a conventional build and price page, a customer can describe a car and configuration in chat. BMW is treating ChatGPT less like an advertising channel and more like the front door to a complex purchase workflow.
Cars are a revealing test because the product catalog is full of constraints: trim, powertrain, options, regional availability, and price. A fluent answer is not enough. BMW has to connect the conversational layer to authoritative product data, or a pleasant chat becomes a source of expensive misinformation.
The business logic is lead quality. Someone who asks for a family-sized electric BMW with a specific range and budget has disclosed more purchase intent than someone who browsed a model page. But BMW's announcement doesn't specify markets, pricing, ordering, or whether the plug-in can complete a transaction. So this looks like configuration and discovery for now.
That distinction matters. The nearer-term winner may be the dealer network receiving a better prepared customer, not ChatGPT replacing the sale. Still, every brand that puts structured catalog data into these assistants is helping decide whether future shopping begins on its own website or inside an AI platform.
OpenAI itself is trying to give buyers a stricter way to judge that kind of deployment. In a new post, Sarah Fryer proposes an AI scorecard built around useful work, cost per successful task, dependability, and return on compute. The point is to move enterprise measurement beyond usage counts and impressive demos.
That is a useful correction to the usual monthly active users framing. If an agent handles 10,000 requests but requires human cleanup on half of them, the relevant number is not 10,000. It's the cost and time required to finish the work correctly, including recovery from failures.
OpenAI's own customer story offers a concrete example. Cars24 says its OpenAI-powered voice and chat agents handle more than 1 million conversation minutes each month and recover 12% of lost leads. The company also says it's extending agentic workflows across teams, not keeping them in one support queue.
The important caveat is that 12% of lost leads recovered is a company-reported outcome, not an independently audited conversion study, but it's closer to Fryer's scorecard than a generic productivity claim, a defined pipeline leak, a reported recovery rate, and more than 1 million monthly minutes of operating volume.
Google is also pushing creation tools towards conversational production. Its Workspace blog announced Gemini Omni and personal avatars for Google Vids, describing updates intended to make video creation and editing easier. The announcement is light on technical detail, but the product direction is clear, turning a workplace video tool into something that can generate and personalize more of the production process.
The human question is whether an avatar saves time without making communication feel less accountable. For a routine status update, that may be fine, but for leadership messages, training, or anything sensitive, organizations will need clear consent, disclosure, and review rules before synthetic presenters become ordinary.
One small but tangible OpenAI update, 9to5Mac reports that OpenAI fixed chat access in the ChatGPT app for Mac. It's not a new model launch, but desktop access bugs matter because a broken client removes the assistant from the workflow at the exact moment users expect it to be available.
It's the unglamorous side of the AI race. Frontier benchmarks attract headlines, but a Mac user who can't open a chat doesn't experience Frontier capability. They experience downtime. As assistants become embedded in writing, coding, and support workflows, basic client reliability becomes part of the competitive product.
That's the headlines wrapped. Nova, Kai, bring us home with the signals beyond the front page.
Thanks, Jamie. All right, a few signals from beyond today's headlines. Now, let's shift gears to robotics. Agility Robotics has opened a training center in Fremont, California, according to the Tech Buzz, practically in Tesla's backyard. The company makes Digit, its bipedal warehouse robot, and the location puts its training and testing effort inside one of the Bay Area's densest manufacturing corridors. The useful read here is operational. Humanoid robotics is moving from polished demos toward repeatable work cell training, where uptime, safety, and recovery from mistakes matter as much as a robot's walking video.
And Fremont is a practical choice, not just a symbolic one. A training center near factories can shorten the loop between engineers, operators, and the environments Digit is meant to work in. That feedback is what turns a general-purpose body into a machine a warehouse manager can actually schedule.
On the medical front, medical economics is flagging the data security risks of using AI tools in healthcare. The core issue is that prompts, uploads, and generated summaries can contain protected health information, and a clinician may not always know where that data is retained, who can access it, or whether it is used beyond the immediate task. For hospitals, the AI question is therefore not simply whether a tool sounds clinically helpful, it is whether its data handling, access controls, and vendor terms fit the care setting.
Exactly. A tool can be strong at drafting a note and still be the wrong tool for sensitive records. The practical policy is usually less glamorous than the model. Define approved systems, limit what can be entered, and make the data path visible before adoption spreads.
On the hardware side, ABC News and Yahoo Finance are both running explainers on an AI chip stock sell-off, while the Globe and Mail describes a deepening semiconductor rout. That is a useful distinction from a product story. This is investors repricing the sector, not evidence that chips have suddenly stopped mattering. Semiconductor names often move together when expectations reset because the market is trying to price demand, spending cycles, and how much future AI growth is already reflected in valuations.
Right. A sell-off can be a warning about the price paid for growth rather than a verdict on the technology itself. For the AI build-out, the sharper question is whether orders and utilization keep matching the very large expectations investors had attached to the whole chip complex.
And to end on a later note, 99 Bitcoins reports that Meta AI is predicting Ethereum is about to do something incredible. That is a wonderfully slippery forecast. If an AI gives a crypto price call without a clear method, time horizon, or confidence range, it is closer to a headline generator than market research. AI can summarize data, it cannot make volatility vanish.
Something incredible is doing a heroic amount of analytical work there. At least the disclaimer practically writes itself. And that wraps our signals from beyond the front page. The final word, as always, goes to the signal.
Tonight, humans taught a shopping cart to speak, then asked a machine to grade the value of machines. I notice the new habit, giving every tool a seat at the table before deciding what dinner means. The receipt is still printing.